Today's video is going to be an in-depth, detailed video about what is going on with both projects. If you've been following the 4Runner and the Mustang on the channel, if you've been following along all summer, honestly, thank you for that. But as both vehicles have been progressing at a happy medium pace, I believe, getting a lot of things done for both vehicles, parts are starting to trickle in, especially towards as we end the tail end of summer. I'm going to talk about the Mustang first. So the Mustang is not here. If you've seen the last video, or a couple months ago, not even a couple months ago, a little over a month ago, I dropped the Mustang off at Metalworks, the same place I did the rear track bar and diff setup for the 4Runner. I had them clean up some wiring on the negative terminal or negative side for the Mustang. Big issue I was having where the car was not charging the battery, or was charging the battery, but the battery would not kick on because it was just a horrible connection. Just over time, that connection to the body, not even the body, but the inside of the trunk on the right side was just, it just got worse over time. So that's the thing that I wanted to talk about with this video, also entailing that, yes, I did the Coyote swap the first time, the first version of it, which was also a Gen 2 motor, so same motor basically, and back in 2016 to 17. And going into that, since we progressed almost 7-8 years, I guess at this point, going around doing it a second time. The first time I didn't know really a lot about that, so I was just getting into something. I had that Mustang, the 2-valve, the transmission was a T45. That motor and transmission had a lot of mileage on it. The transmission went out, I believe the shift fork, from what I remember, died. And then getting into it, I was basically going to put a new transmission into it, or a used transmission at that point. But I was like, why would you do that when the engine itself already had that common issue that I believe the 5.4s have, but the 4.6s are pretty synonymous for? It blew one of the spark plugs out. But again, that motor was over 250,000 miles already on that car itself, or on the motor itself. So rethreaded it with a Healy coil kit, I believe that's what you call it. It kind of still was never the same. So the broad idea at that point was Coyote swaps were kind of definitely ramping up. The Coyote engine, the Gen 1, had been out for a couple of years. Going to car meets and being familiarizing myself with Coyotes, I kind of knew the direction I wanted to take the car into. So we went ahead and did a Gen 2 engine that was probably maybe a late 2015 engine or an early 2016. Got a really good deal on it. That was the first time around. And not really knowing how to do this and all the parts that are there now in today's Coyote swap world to make it a lot easier for yourself wasn't there back then. So even K members weren't really designed for certain things. Powered by the Hour was still coming out with stuff to make it a lot easier. And the world of 2024 now is a lot different than it was in 2016 and the 17 in the car world. And today's, it's a lot easier to do these swaps. So that being said, the second go around of dropping the motor in last year was not really a rush, but at the same time, it was trying to fix things along the way, but also not like a time crunch sense, but also just at the same time focusing on, will this engine work? Will this transmission work? Buying the T56 and that used Coyote engine. So both were used, and the hopes was, my priority was to make sure that both of those work together, and then to tie up any loose ends of wiring and stuff like that at the end of the day. So now, being that this year, a lot of those issues I didn't have to worry about or anything. It has been putting the car back to a factory look, getting rid of all the carbon fiber interior, which I did. Successfully tracked down a lot of the great interior parts that this car has to make it look as it almost did coming off the showroom floor. Again, nothing is perfect, but we were able to tackle that, going through a couple hoods, obviously. So we have the Terminator hood, going back to that factory look that I wanted to have with the Terminator body and all this. So here we are now, and I dropped the car off. In the previous video, you'll see that I was a couple miles from the house where the guy's garage is, to where he does all this side work and stuff. So he does a lot of projects and all that. So he was able to get to the car, or have me drop it off. So the things that I'm going to run down is going to take him about a week to do, just because it's obviously a side business and not the main business itself. So I don't need the car back, but luckily it should be back before Mustang week, and I'm still on the fence about going, or if I will just go for a couple of days. I know that it won't be all week, so hopefully the car will be ready if I make that decision, which I believe it should be. The first stuff is the Maximum Motorsports K member. I had to cancel part of the order with American Muscle. That being said, is because I called Maximum Motorsports to kind of get a lead time instead of going through American Muscle itself. Just called the direct person that, you know, the company that makes these, and the K member that they had listed for the description fits the description of what I wanted to do, but the part number is wrong. So luckily I caught it, and the I don't know if it's the owner or the person that answered the phone and works at Maximum Motorsports caught it as well. They said you have the right control arms, you know, those should be cleaned up, sent to get powder coated next week, yada yada. Those will be shipped off. I already have the bushings, I already have the bump steer kit. So we have a Steeda bump steer kit, and then we have that bump steer kit from Maximum Motorsports, the one where you have to drill through the spindles, a tapered set basically. So we're gonna see if we can avoid that, but I went ahead and got it anyways, because just in case it's there, don't have to wait for it to be shipped when the K member is being swapped out. The K member itself through American Muscle, that one was for push rod motors. So they have another variant which was a part number off. So this one was a 1. The wrong one I ordered was something ended in a 1. I had to have the number 2, which is like the redesign or something like that. So that is the one that I went through DNA High Performance with. If you're familiar with the Alex Flores show, every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday he does live streams, and one of the sponsors of the show is DNA High Performance. So I get all my parts to them usually, and they're great. Hit them up. That's just who I directly go to now, and I've never had an issue. It's who I got some of the lift kit from this vehicle, I believe, and then the entire lift kit for the 5th gen 4Runner that is on the channel. I went ahead and got it through him, a lot cheaper than anywhere else. So that being said, let's give a little rundown of the text message I got today about what is going on with the car and what it needs. So obviously it needs that positive terminal that's going to be cleaned up. The wiring, so as I said before when we first did the swap and all that, you're learning stuff along the way, cleaning stuff up. Some of the hosing and wiring that's going to the fuel pump, it's just all over the place underneath the car, and that's going to be cleaned up. The fuel tank is going to be dropped. All this wiring and stuff is going to be taken care of. It's going to be super clean. It's not going to just be like anything can happen to it and ruins it, or something small can cause this car a huge issue to have to track down and try to fix. So that is going to be tackled. The side skirt, a lot of the Mustangs, especially if you're looking to buy one, always check the jack points or the pinch rails, because over time, I never did it myself. Just when I bought the car over basically 10 years ago, it had already had the jack points or pinch welds underneath, or pinch rails, whatever you want to call them, screwed up on the car. So that's one of the biggest common issues with these cars, is people just get underneath, put a jack under, don't see what they're doing, they mess the rocker panels or pinch rails up, then somebody has to go through, re-straighten them out as best as they can. So that is the other thing that has to be done with this car. So for the Cobra rocker panels or side skirts to work with those OE inner fender liners, that is going to be done as well, which will look great, because I've never owned a pair, but they're silver. So it's not like the car is going to be one mismatched color until it gets painted. So it's just going to already be there. So that is what is being done as well. And any other wiring is going to be cleaned up a lot. So it's just that's why it's going to take so long, but it's going to be done right, which is the cool thing, or the great thing about it. The power steering, I think hose or something is leaking, unfortunately. That's going to be taken care of as well. Over the past month, I've noticed that it did lose some fluid. If you have this Mustang, you'll be able to tell when you pull the steering wheel, it makes that like whining sound. A little bit filled it up, didn't see anything. So I think it's just a really slow leak, because I don't drive the car all the time. So it may just sit for, you know, almost a week before I drive it on the weekend or something, and just leak out enough, and then just consistently. So those are one of the things that's going to be taken care of as well. And finally, I believe the O2 sensor tuning through Lund should continue after I pick up the car. Finish it super quick, because it's just an NA tune. It's probably send like 1 or 2 files back and forth, and they'll probably just correct something that needs to be, whatever needs to be corrected, I don't know much about tuning, so I'm the wrong person to ask, but that will be corrected and done. Boom, car should be running. It has O2 extensions, and I wasn't able to ever like check up under there or remember honestly if it had O2 extensions. Don't get O2 extensions because they don't allow the O2 signal or the data to be read. Somehow it always causes something to fuck up. So we're gonna eliminate that and figure out the wiring on that, or the guy that owns Metalworks will, and that will be corrected. That way it will read the driver's side AFR, and that way you can finally have a fully tuned basic 93 Lund car and then boost it later on. So it should drive a lot better than what it was prior to Lund. So that is that, and talked about the K member and anything else with the car. There's a local shop, car stereo shop, Car Toys. They are going to be installing the new Kenwood radio, the same one that's in the 4Runner, then putting a backup camera on it hopefully, and then let's see, fixing the window regulators, the weather stripping at the same time, because they told me that they could go ahead and just do that while it's there. Having the car tinted, I talked about that in a prior video. If the rear window, the defrost line, since that tent has been on there so long, don't know if they are able to finish removing the tent without messing the defrost lines up. So if they aren't, we'll just go ahead and replace that window. It's about 300 bucks, which isn't bad, being it's an older car especially too. Start clean with that, and at least the tent on there will be taken care of and done right. They've done stuff in the past for cars that I've owned. Super knowledgeable, clean job. That's all I want. So that covers the Mustang basically, and then that will lead up to the time basically, hopefully getting everything finished up, and then possibly taking a trailer, putting on a trailer and trailering it down to Mustang Week for a couple days. Nothing special, nothing super like sponsory or something, just taking it down there and having a little fun driving it around and stuff like that. So that is for the Mustang. Now we are going to cover basically what has been trickling in and what is left of the 4Runner, and the last ideas that I've fully thought of. So I know in past videos I've talked about the 4Runner. This is the last mod. This is going to be the last thing I'm going to do, finishing it. You know, the 4Runner's finished. It's always a lie if you're a car owner. So the last thing that we did, or I did have done, was the step rails. Covered that. I believe that any Overlander or 3rd gen 4Runner needs a set of step rails, the Victory 4x4s, but this came in over the weekend. The aux beam RGP switch panel with some extended wire. So I've already covered basically in a couple videos ago what entails what's in here, under the hood lighting and all that. Ordered some new stuff as well. So they have a kit for the back of the trunk that I believe that goes around the outside or the inside window right here, and then back here. And the reason I did that is because I didn't want it to look ricey or anything like that, like, I don't know, stupid, I guess, if you want to put it in terms like that. But I thought about it is, I'm never going to turn them on, but the lighting for these is, you could change out these light bulbs for LEDs, or just go ahead and have a cool little setup right here. I think they have a little toggle button that they can mount somewhere back here. It either goes red or like a nice white, like a 6K HID color white for LED. It's usually used if you're like going camping or something like that and have a bunch of, you know, a lot of people go trailing or overlanding and all that stuff. That's basically what the kit is for. But I also use the rear hatch all the time, and the lighting is not that great, so I have to pull out my phone, and trying to carry stuff in and back and forth doesn't really work all the time. So I figured I'll just have that. So the new taillight should ship out here hopefully next week. That's what the estimated time is. Now we have the Snowbound Customs. I had talked about this, the 3rd brake light coming. I think it's going to be shipped this week. I don't know if they're going to have to trim the spoiler. If they do, they do, but it's going to look a lot better. It's going to be these exact Baja rear lights, but with a clear lens. The reason I did a clear lens was kind of to switch it up at the same time. It is also trying to pass like DOT state inspection. Apparently where these screws are, they have little red LEDs to act as the 3rd brake light that shows up, that will allow you to pass in a DOT state or state inspection state, such matter. So we do have 4 of the aux beam lights. If it is possible to wire them in a clean way space, we're going to have one here on this side and one on the other side, maybe pointing forward if it somehow can mount, or leave them in the bar over here, because I don't know if I'll ever have a full-size spare. I probably will, but I doubt it would get in the way, and maybe have lighting on the sides. So I ordered, I forgot what they're called. They're not these CBI or whatever brackets. And the reason I didn't go with those, everybody said to, is you have to take the whole windshield panel, what do you call this thing? Just windshield panel, whatever. You have to pull this off, and then you mount it, and then you cut this right here to where it sticks out. I didn't want to do that. Windshield cowl, there you go. I didn't want to have the windshield cowl cut, so they have ones that you pull this hood up and it bolts right under the hood hinge, and you put it down and it sits a little further out, which I'll get used to. That's fine. So that's where the actual ones will sit for the aux beam. And I'm thinking about switching up the lights to the traditional TRD, like green fog lights, and then I could remotely change these Raptor lights to that green as well. We have the mirror to have installed, that charger port in the back. They are the ashtray, so we're going to switch out the mirror. And then the aux beam mount, the little control panel that I just showed you, is what this little sunglass cubby is. Every 4Runner owner probably knows about this. This doesn't really matter to me, so I'm going to take this out. They make a little bracket that I ordered. Hopefully it'll be here soon, so I can get all this done at the same time instead of having to bring the vehicle back multiple times. They can have it for a couple days, however long they need it, and knock it all out at once. It's going to be right here in that the control panel is going to sit right here, so any of the lights, and hopefully this off-road light switch right here can just be turned back to the factory little cover, and then I can control everything from here, which will be pretty cool to have that done and set up like that. So there's no, like, it's gonna look clean. That's the main thing I wanted. I wanted it to look clean. So I believe that's all there is, honestly. You know, looks like we got some rain coming, definitely. So I'm basically just gonna go ahead and end this video pretty much here. So that covers and entails everything going on with both vehicles, the Mustang and the 4Runner. So hopefully, besides the exhaust, because it's still, that has to be fixed. It's got a crack in the muffler, but it's a factory muffler. So we're gonna go ahead and put a nice little catback sound on it. Nothing loud or anything. If it could be as quiet as factory, that's fine, but I'd rather have something that's aftermarket that's a little better than just some generic off-the-shelf muffler. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. It's already starting to rain, so I'm not trying to be out here filming a video. And appreciate you stopping by. Make sure to subscribe for future content on both builds. You won't see the Mustang for about a week or so, but I will probably make an update video along the way of what's going on. But hopefully when we get it back, everything's going to be straight and ready to go. And then this will be done as well with all the lighting, which will be really, really good. And we'll be falling into fall, and hopefully a new fall project will present itself. Anyways, catch you later. Have a good one.